welcome to the Remember Me podcast. I'm Maria.
And I'm Rachel.
And we're your hosts.
And we're very happy you're here with us today.
Remember Me is dedicated to preserving the memories of those affected by dementia and the families walking alongside them.
We've created this space for you to feel more connected and supported.
And we hope these stories allow for a deeper understanding and a sense of belonging.
And to shine a light on our motto, accept the good.
Always, always accept the good.
This is Remember Me.
So today we're here with Ellen, and Ellen is going to tell us all about her husband, Larry. Welcome, Ellen.
Hi, Ellen.
Hello, ladies. Glad to be here.
So what was the first sign or first things, maybe looking back, that like kind of told you something's not quite right with Larry? He's acting a little different.
Oh gosh, I think I was in the dark for a long time. We saw symptoms going back probably all the way to 2018. He was diagnosed in 2022. And there were lots of little things that happened. He just started pulling away from our family. He was not as engaging as he was. He didn't laugh as much as he did. He didn't talk to us as much as he used to. Larry was a really fun guy. And if we had a party, he was the person that came to you in the party and made sure that you had a drink and you knew where the bathroom was and people were telling you jokes and you were comfortable. He always wanted to make people feel welcome. And that started going by the wayside. He spent more time on his phone. He was always a very handy guy, did carpentry around our house, would build fences and shelves for the garage. And we were both into vintage Volkswagens, and we would tear an engine apart and put it back together and then drive the car. And those sorts of things were kind of out of his reach at that point. Larry lost his mom in 2018, and I sort of thought he was depressed.
Yeah.
So he acted like he was depressed. He was just very quiet. And I thought eventually that would get better, but then it really didn't. And finally, I guess in 2020, November 2020 is the first time I saw him doing some strange behaviors. He and I had a very good relationship. We've known each other since we were children, and we were the center of each other's worlds. And then all of a sudden, I happened to pick up his phone one day and saw a message come in from one of his ex-girlfriends, and I knew her name because we've talked about everything. And I just thought, that's weird. And I pulled it up, and he had been having conversations with her, not sexting, but texting with her and telling her things like, I was an M1 tank commander in the Army. And I was a government security
he wasn't,
agent.
Yes.
He wasn't any of those things. He had wanted to be in the Army. He attended basic and broke both of his feet. And they gave him the option of recycling and doing basic all over again. And he decided, no, I don't want to do that. Thank you. I'll go ahead and take my medical discharge. And the government security agent thing was he was basically a rent-a-cop at the AFIS facility in South Dallas, Texas. Not a government security agent.
All right. Did you ask Larry,
And then,
what's this? Or just let him?
I did not.
Okay.
And so I was a little sneaky about this. I didn't see anything dangerous in any of these messages. And oddly enough, I wasn't concerned about the fact. I was just kind of amused by it and thinking, is he, what is he doing? Is he looking to make himself feel better? Is he, having a midlife crisis where he's wanting to pump up his, I don't know, his credentials a little bit more? Like, what is this all about? And again, because I'd heard the stories of all of his girlfriends, I knew exactly who this was, and I knew the history, and I knew that I didn't have anything to worry about per se. But I was kind of curious about why is he doing this? So I did something really sneaky, and I logged onto his Facebook on my iPad and then deleted the emails out of his email because I had his passwords. He had my passwords.
No
there was nothing sacrosanct or private in our communications. We both had full access to each other's lives. And then I just sat and watched what happened. And, he just started reaching out to a variety of friends and girlfriends from his past and just having the same conversation, just
Oh.
reiterating the same lines. And I just thought it was odd. We got a letter from the State Troopers Association, one of those, hey, would you like to donate money to our cause letters? And he opened it and he said, oh, they want me to be a state trooper.
Oh. I feel like we've heard
And
that
when I
one.
thought, no, honey, this is a donation letter. But it wasn't until he was coming home at lunchtime just exhausted and taking a nap. He was delivering doors and windows for a local lumber yard in town.
Okay.
And exhausting himself. Again, thought he was depressed, thought he was exhausted. He would come home at lunchtime, take a 30-minute nap, and then make a sandwich, and then turn around and go back to work. And then come home at dinner time and take a nap before dinner, and then eat dinner, and then sit on the other end of the couch and play on his phone for the rest of the evening. And there wasn't conversation going on back and forth like there always had been.
Sure.
And so I felt him pulling farther and farther away. And that coupled with the girlfriends, I'm thinking, oh, we're having marital issues.
Right.
What's going on here?
Sure. So when did it get to the point where you're like, I need to confront him?
About the girlfriends?
Yes. About I think we're having issues. Where's my guy? What's going on?
Yeah. It was just before our anniversary, our 19th anniversary. We were going to have a lovely dinner. I'd planned a steak dinner at home. We live in a small town. We don't have good restaurants. We're going to stay home, a bottle of wine, cook a delicious steak. The kid is, staying the night with a friend. We're going to have a lovely evening. And this story tends to get a little graphic. We had our dinner. And I'm trying to broach the subject of our marriage and are things okay? Are we okay? Is everything okay? I know that I've been going through menopause and I'm not as exciting as I used to be. And he just said, yeah, you used to be a lot more fun when you were younger. Very matter of fact, which was not something he would have ever said to me, ever.
You're like,
Larry was
okay.
the kind of,
What do you say to that?
I said, no kidding. We're both older and you used to be a lot more fun too. And what do you mean by this? And I kept getting more and more and more angry. And the evening just slid sideways. And he was hinting around that he wanted to go to bed and have sex. And it's like, I'm really not interested in
we
doing
just got
this.
to fight.
Yeah. What did you just say to me?
I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
No.
But he just kept pushing that boundary. And I said, all right, I'm not interested, but if you want to try to get me interested, you go ahead. And he tried for 40 minutes. And then finally, when I was not reacting, and I'm just thinking, how long is this going to go on? And this is not
this is
the kind of behavior that I would have expected from my husband. This is not like, no. So he finally just said, okay, you can go to bed now. And he rolled over and he went to sleep. And I was angry with him for a couple of months and finally sat down with him one day in the middle of the summer. And I said, we have to talk about this. We can't keep going on like this. Like, I don't understand what's going on with you. This is not what our marriage has been about, And he says, what, do you want a divorce? No, I don't want a divorce. I want to fix our marriage.
Right.
Talk to me. What's going on? There's nothing wrong. I'm fine. Very strange. Well, it wasn't until October of the same year, that's October 21, where I was recognizing how tired he was. I asked him to go to the doctor and see his doctor. Everything's fine. I'm great. Everything's fine. We decided he was going to stop delivering doors and windows and go back to driving a school bus, which he'd done previously and enjoyed it. One of the reasons he stopped driving a bus was after his mom passed. He was talking about how he couldn't stand the noise on the bus and didn't like the kids. And this is probably ringing bells with both of you as a symptom.
Yeah.
It does now, of course, for me, ring bells as a symptom, but it didn't even occur to me. So he was training for that job. And then he came home one morning at 11 o'clock and said, well, I've been fired. And I said, well, what do you mean you've been fired? What happened? Well, I was telling my boss that when I started driving the bus. I have my little backpack here packed full of I've got a box cutter and I've got screwdrivers and I've got brass knuckles and things that I can use as weapons in case the kids attack me. And that was my aha moment.
Yeah, that would
It
do
was
it.
just like the lens of a camera focusing on his face and it
Uh-huh.
was like, oh,
Oh, yeah,
there is
there's
something
something.
wrong with your brain.
And
Oh,
he's looking at
Oh,
you like, what?
I'll just go get a job
Why? Why did they
tomorrow.
fire
I'll just
me?
get another job. We'll be fine.
wow.
Oh
Oh,
my
You know,
gosh.
brass
in his
knuckles.
mind, there's nothing wrong.
So how did you get answers? Like, was he resistant to go into the doctor, still saying, I'm fine?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't as forcefully resistant as many people are when they're in this situation. He didn't think there was anything wrong with him, but he trusted me. And um, I said, we really should go see our doctor. We, both of us, visited the same primary care physician. She was actually a physician's assistant,
Okay.
very sharp lady, very in tune with what was going on in our lives and understood both of us. I said, we're going to go see her and we're going to go together. So we went together. He allowed me to fill out the HIPAA forms so that I could be in the appointment with him and so that she could talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
I made sure that happened. And the doctor was here and Larry was here and I was here. So I was behind him as we were having the conversation. And he sits down and starts to tell her, well, I was an M1 tank commander in the army and I was a government security. Like these are the things that he
The
had
road.
practiced. These are
Yeah.
the phrases that he had cemented in his mind to talk to people about. So she was asking him how things were going, and he was telling her he was an M1 tank commander in the army. And I was sitting behind him going, and
Oh,
No,
she
he's
knew me well
not.
enough to
Yep.
know
that's not what is. Yeah.
none of that is true.
Uh,
So she ordered, really bright lady, has never, she's not a neurologist, she's a PA's assistant in a general practice, ordered all of the appropriate tests to see is it Lyme, is it B12 deficiency, like that whole,
Yeah.
Yep.
let's see if
Yes.
this is
The
something
list.
Yeah.
Yep.
reversible, right?
Right.
Got the CT. And the night after we got the CT, we were out to dinner with family, and she called me at 8 o'clock at night.
Mm.
So, of course, I'm picking up.
Yeah. And you.
Hey,
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
up?
Yeah.
Well, I've looked at his CT and I'm really concerned. There is atrophy in the brain that, everybody's brain atrophies, but there's a lot of atrophy in his brain. And I want you to go see a neurologist. She said, all of these tests have come back, with nothing that's reversible.
Mm.
And I just need you to go see a neurologist. So we sought one. This was right after COVID, and it was really difficult to get an
I'm sure.
appointment,
Yep.
especially in the small town where we lived. So I have family in Tampa. This is where I grew up, and my sister's here. And I started looking around in Tampa and found a neurologist that was pretty highly rated and that had an opening. And we went to see him. That appointment wasn't until December. So from October to December, I had to wait, and that killed
Just
me.
wait,
Yeah.
knowing
And
like
that like
this isn't
chaotic.
good.
Like,
Yeah.
what way
And
is
and
that?
he's saying I need to go get a job. I need to, and
Oh,
I'm just trying to,
yeah.
it's okay. Let's wait. Let's see what's going on first. There's no rush. We're okay with just my salary. Why don't you take it easy kind of thing. Went to go see that neurologist, and after looking at the CT and having a conversation with Larry, he decided he was having memory issues, which Larry wasn't having any memory issues other than
Right.
the fact that of the episodic memory and the things that he was, he had trained himself to say. He was actually forgetting words, not memories. If I would lose my keys in the house, he could find my keys. I can't find my keys, but Larry knows right where they are.
Huh.
Still doing, math problems. He's still balancing the checkbook. He's still,
Isn't
Right.
that amazing though?
It's insane. Yes.
Wow. Go on.
it's
Sorry.
fascinating to me
Yes.
what they lose and what they retain, and
Yes.
also
Yeah.
how their brain flexes around the situation. When I look back and when I saw the MRI and I saw the CT and how much damage there was going on, like he had had a brain injury when he was young, and he had he'd been hit in the head and he had kind of a golf ball sized chunk of brain missing out of his frontal lobe, but also how much shrinkage there was there and how much shrinkage there was in the temporal lobes. You're not supposed to have these empty spaces down here. And I think about how long that must have been going on and how he compensated for that,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah.
I'm just so proud of him physically and mentally, how he was able to compensate for all of that. And, maybe it was because he didn't know he was sick. Maybe it was because he was just powering through and protecting us. I guess I will never know. But I'm still really very proud of him for that. So, getting back to the first neurologist appointment, he thought Larry was having memory problems. He did the tests of who was our current president? Oh, Joe Biden. Who was our former president? Can't tell you. Begins with a T, from New York, tall guy. Can't really tell you. And then he told him Trump.
Oh.
And Larry says, "Oh yeah, Trump. He was a expletive."
Don't you just love when they do that?
And I giggled, and the neurologist didn't even bat an eye. He was
Right.
like this. So he decided that Larry could not remember who he was, and I'm pretty convinced that he just couldn't remember the name
Yeah.
Right.
because, they lose words. And I had done a lot of research. I'd gone to the EFT website and been watching webinars and comparing symptoms. And in my mind, I had decided that he had FTD and was exhibiting behavioral symptoms this whole time and was losing his words. So he was going to put us on Aricept and
Oh,
then come
no.
back and see me in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But because I'd researched and
You
I
know.
knew that FTD doesn't like Aricept in a lot of cases,
Yep.
and I was already having a difficult time, keeping his behavior steady, not drinking a lot, not doing the crazy things,
Right.
keeping him reined in. I didn't want to try Aricept and then have him go off the deep end on me.
Right.
So I decided we're not going to do that. We're going to seek more help. We're going to find another neurologist. Let's go back home and see who else we can find. And I went back to our PA and said, "You got to help me get in somewhere. There's got to be some office somewhere that would be interested in a case like this, because I'm pretty sure this is what's going on." And she says, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right, but we really do need to get him diagnosed. Let me make some calls." So they called around and found a neuropsychologist who would see us in a couple of weeks. And he took the, 2 days worth of tests. And I had probably one of the most compassionate meetings with that neuropsychologist after he diagnosed Larry, or when he diagnosed Larry, than I've heard of anywhere. I've heard horror stories
Good.
about, "Yep, he's got this, and go home and get your affairs in order."
Right.
Blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah.
good luck. Yep.
No, he scheduled a 1 hour block with us, and he sat with us that entire hour. And he explained what it was, and he was very kind about it. And when Larry was saying, "Well, I just need to go get another job," he understood this was Larry perseverating and said, "Maybe we should wait on that and just see." Like, he was great with Larry as well. And said, "Really, your next step is to go see a neurologist and get this confirmed and get on the books with them, and they can monitor you. But, this is what it is. And here are the steps you need to take." I couldn't have been more grateful for that compassion that he showed us. So,
And I think I know the answer to this, but what did Larry say? Was he just like, "I'm in the army"? Like, how did he digest
he
the
wasn't
information?
angry. He
Okay.
wasn't angry, and he wasn't suspicious so much of me because I worked very hard. I already had put on the mask. Kind of like when I found him, texting his old girlfriends. I did
Yeah.
not tip my hand. I did not tell him, "I know what you're up to." I played it cool, and I played those cards close to my chest so that I could lay them out when the game had been won,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Or lost. And I did the same thing during this first part of our journey where I just kept it light and, I somehow just knew how to speak to him to convince him to not do this thing or not do that thing. We had some hairy moments
Sure.
for sure where, oh, if one shot of tequila is good, half of the bottle is better,
Yeah,
you
right.
know?
Right.
Mm.
Um, let me just keep pouring for our
Yeah.
friends who are
Yep.
over here.
Right. Right.
We took a couple of trips right off the bat to go
Mm.
back and see friends because I saw that his decline was really accelerating. And I wanted to make sure that people who knew him had a chance to see him before his personality was completely gone. So we went back to Texas to visit with friends, and that was okay. Telling his family was difficult.
Did anybody
Telling my
in
kids was
his
difficult.
family have it before him that he knew of? Was it like, oh, yeah, Aunt Sarah had that? Did anybody?
Absolutely not.
This is the first.
Absolutely not.
And
This was the
family meaning
first.
like his parents, brothers and
His
sisters?
parents,
Mm.
parents, brothers and sisters. His grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. His grandmother
Okay.
on his mother's side.
Okay.
Who in particular? We don't need to call people out, but I do think the family dynamics is like a hot topic. Who in
Sure,
particular, or like tell us? Can you tell us a little bit more about like did they
I
not
can.
receive it well, or was it just hard because you had to say it out loud to somebody
Yeah,
else?
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So after Larry's mother passed in 2018, his father remarried fairly quickly,
Okay.
to someone that was in the friend group, someone that we all knew. We all loved her. She had lost her husband the previous year, and the two of them just decided that they were going to pair up and grieve together. And we all of us supported that. She's Korean, and they don't believe in dementia.
Ah,
And
Oh.
so when I told Larry's dad that and her this is what's going on, they kind of kept us at arm's length for a while. And then finally in May, she just let me have it. We do not believe in his dementia. We don't believe what you're telling us about him. And I'm not comfortable, don't expect us to come and help you. Don't expect us to come and visit you.
oh,
You're on your own with this because we don't think there's anything wrong with him. Flat out to my face,
Oh.
along with a number of other choice things, which
It,
when I look back, I think to myself, well, she had been a caregiver for her husband, and now she's essentially the caregiver for Larry's dad. And she doesn't want to get looped into another caregiving journey with
yeah.
us.
right.
Sure.
And so she had to pick a fight.
Yeah, and keep you
Is
away.
kind of
Yeah,
how I
right.
felt about it.
But can you tell us like what that's like for you as you're like my world is upside down?
Devastating.
Like and now you're going to
Absolutely
fight me
devastating.
on this? Like what?
Well, I considered her, not just like a stepmom. I considered her
Mhm.
a friend.
Yeah.
We were very supportive of her and Larry's dad when they got married. Yes, it's an unusual situation. Yes, he's rushing you, right? She still considered herself, you know, her husband was John Cannon. I'm still John Cannon's wife, and now you're wanting me to, you know, date you slash get involved with you and your family and all these children, and I'm just not ready for that. But she warmed up to the idea, and a year later they got married. And we were all of us very supportive of that and very understanding of the entire dynamic there between the two of them. And sensitive to the fact she was friends with Larry's mother as well. She had lost her husband, she had lost Jeannie, Larry's mom, and I considered us very close. And for her to, she sat me down and just told me like it was. I cried. I was lost. I couldn't go home and talk to Larry about this because he
Yeah,
was oblivious, and I
right.
did not want to plant anything in his mind.
Yeah, yeah.
He was very
Right.
suspicious of, people in general.
Hmm.
I didn't want to plant anything in his mind that might hinder him from going to see his dad or say anything to her or do anything to her or potentially hurt her. So I had to bear that burden
Right.
completely alone.
Oh. And
That
you
wasn't
mentioned you
something that I
had
could share with
kids,
anyone.
right? Correct? You have
We
kid
have
1, 2.
we have one child together,
Okay.
2 boys from a previous marriage. The 2 older ones lived in Texas. They were adults and,
Okay.
you know, flown the nest. And my son Gabe was 16
Oh.
when Larry was diagnosed. And I didn't want to color his perception of her either. I didn't want any of the other family members. And to this day, I haven't told the other family members. If they listen to this, they'll hear this. Haven't told the other family members what happened because I don't want them
Yeah, it's
to think poorly.
and
Like I
honestly, you
have,
have bigger fish to I don't know the relationship,
yeah,
maybe not, but like your focus is
I mean,
Larry. This lady wants to know. Okay.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And like I said, in my mind, I have rationalized it with she's been through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
She just didn't want to go through this again.
Yep. Send
She
her
just
off
had
with
to keep us
empathy.
at an arm's length,
Yep. Okay.
right?
Yep. That's
That's
yes. Tie it
she
up
had
in a
to do
bow.
what she had to do.
Right.
Now I have to do what I
That's
have to
right.
do.
Yep. How did you tell your child that you have together? Gabe, I think is his name.
Yeah, his name is Gabe, and he could see that there was something wrong. And
Feel
I've
it.
always been very forthright with my kids, and I just sat him down and said, this is what's happening. This is the diagnosis. If you want to go look into it some more, you can read about the diagnosis and see what the symptoms are, and you'll see how this matches up with your dad. And I had to tell him, flat out, it's a terminal disease and there's nothing that we can do that's going to repair it. It's progressive. He's going to get worse, not better. We have no idea how fast that's going to happen or how slow that's going to happen. But I told him we were going to do our best to keep him at home and keep him safe and make sure he knew that he was loved. And, if he was having a hard time, he could come to me. I tried to put him on to Lorenzo's house to get, some assistance. He's not that guy. He's the let me hide out in my bedroom and play video games with my friends online guy.
So he's a typical 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you're basically holding his and yours and your husband. You're the container for all the emotions. And that's a hard thing to be.
But I did very early on find that great support group that I helped facilitate that we talked about earlier. And those people step me through everything. Like they've been through all of this. They know about, go to your elder law attorney, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, stop him from driving, get the guns out of the house, don't worry about the family dynamics. You can't afford to waste any energy on it.
You're
They
like,
helped me through the
check,
grief.
check. Okay. Yeah, right.
They're your guides, your FTD
right.
guides.
And so let me just outline how fast our journey was to tell you how quickly I had to pick all of this up. Larry was diagnosed in January with FTD.
Okay.
In April, I was noticing physical symptoms. He was having difficulty breathing. I thought, okay, we're going to get fit. We're going to get healthy. We're going to walk the block. I'm going to give us healthy food. We're going to keep our bodies as healthy as we can, even if his mind is deteriorating. We couldn't walk 500 feet without losing his breath and complaining about his legs hurting.
Larry.
And I thought maybe, well, what is this? We went to go see a pulmonologist. There is COPD in his family, and it is a genetic cause. They have a liver enzyme that they have a deficiency, and the lungs can't heal. And he was exposed to all kinds of, chemicals. It helped his dad in his marine business, working on boats and painting and all of that. And so the pulmonologist said, well, maybe he does have COPD. I do see some scarring. Let's get him on these medications. But that just kept getting worse. And then I started seeing fasciculations in his arms.
Oh, no.
And in his legs. And I didn't realize that, his voice was changing. And he wasn't speaking as much. And when he was, it was difficult to understand him. And it's because he had bulbar ALS. And he was diagnosed in September with ALS as well.
So January FTD, September ALS.
Right. And over the course between January and February, he's losing words. By June, he's down to maybe 3 words
And
that he
which
could
year is this?
enunciate.
21?
This is 2022. 21 October is when I first had the aha moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
December appointment, January diagnosis, progression, all summer long, going through all the similar things like not wanting to take showers, having to convince him to take showers, laying his clothes out. Luckily, he wasn't persnickety about what clothes he would wear, but they always had to be the same kind of clothes, and he was very militaristic about the way he would dress himself, but I would have to make sure I had clean clothes out so he would dress himself in the clean clothes.
My mom also had the dual diagnosis, and it was pretty quick to like a wheelchair. I mean, my dad is, 6-something feet tall, and she was very frail. Like, how are you caring for Larry if he's like losing the ability to walk? Was he?
Well, he didn't lose the ability to walk until the very last minute.
Okay.
Until the last week. In fact, he walked himself to the bathroom the morning he died.
Oh, wow.
Because it was the bulbar version, it was mostly his breathing and his voice that he was losing.
Do you think he knew with the FTD that his body, like, was he like, my legs are...
Yeah. So with FTD, he didn't know that there was anything wrong.
Okay.
But when we got the ALS diagnosis, I sat him down in a very simplistic way and said, you know how you're having difficulty walking and how your muscles are cramping and how, your legs are not as strong and you're having trouble breathing. I said, well, that is Lou Gehrig's disease. Do you know what Lou Gehrig's disease is? And he nodded. Yes, he did. And I said, well, you've been diagnosed with that, and that is why you're having trouble breathing. And he just kind of nodded, and he got a little wistful and kind of quiet for the rest of the day. And I think he did know at that point that there was something physically wrong, but we didn't really talk about the progression, or we were not going to discuss any interventions. If I had decided to put a feeding tube in him, it would have been gone. He would have pulled it.
Yeah, right.
If I had, tried to get him on an IV or something, ventilation, he would not have accepted it. I was not going to put him through that. I had already put him through so much with, the neurologist, the neuropsychologist, the pulmonologist, now the EMGs. I'm like, in fact, we went in the day we had our EMG. We were scheduled for an upper and a lower, 2 subsequent days, and he had the upper. And I was watching, what was happening with the testing, and I could see that they were getting lots of noise. And I asked him point blank, is it ALS? And he said, it absolutely is. I said, do we have to do the lower EMG or can we just skip it? He said, we can skip it. We didn't even do that. We just did the upper, and he diagnosed him with ALS. And I put him on hospice the next day. I went home that day, and I called a hospice company and said, we have this diagnosis. Here are my doctors. Please put us in intake and get us on hospice. And that's what we did.
And how old is your son? Is your son still 16 at this? When was that?
No, this was 3 years ago. Larry died in December 7th, 2022. And Gabe is now 19 and has graduated high school. And, that whole journey for him, Larry wasn't just my best friend. He was his dad's, he was Gabe's best friend too. And that was a really hard loss.
So when you put him on hospice care, what was sort of, I mean, I know the trajectory, but like, what was the process?
What was my thought process?
Yeah, like, were you like, what was it? Is this the end? Like, were you like, let's prepare? What Why was that?
In the let's prepare.
Okay.
I was in the let's prepare phase.
Sound like a researcher. You had your team.
I'm a researcher, but also those ladies in that support group really, I've heard a lot. I heard a lot over the course of that year. There were a lot of different people with a lot of different experiences at different stages in the disease. And, you know, Sharon Hall is very big into get palliative care. And then when it's time to go on hospice, go on hospice. Too many people wait until, you know, it's 2 days before the person is passing before they go on hospice. If you're on hospice, you can get respite care. You can, and let's see, he was diagnosed in September, and our first respiratory event where he woke up in the middle of the night and could not breathe was October 3rd. And I was very grateful that we had hospice on board, because I could call someone in the middle of the night and say, he's having trouble breathing, I need assistance. And 20 minutes later, we had a hospice nurse in our house showing me how to administer morphine, which would help ease the breathing issues for him and ease the panic. And so we put him on morphine that day and kept him on a low dose all the way through to the end. And that really was very helpful. And having, you know, the hospital bed there and any of the other equipment, they did move in a Hoyer, but I never had to use that, thankfully, because I was afraid I was going to dump him on his head if I had to use a Hoyer to move him.
Intimidating, yeah.
I know, it's just very complicated, right?
It looks
so
like it.
Yes.
I was very grateful to have their help, and it you know, it's not like we had a nurse there every day, but when we had an emergency, we had one in 20 minutes come in and help us. When and then, you know, once a week, once a month, what have you, we had somebody in doing the measurements, testing them out, checking them out, etc.
We're kids of FTD, obviously. We have no idea. And I consider myself a very empathetic person, but I can't understand what it's like to lose my partner. Like, I can't put myself there.
Well, let me put you there.
Okay. Yeah,
with
please,
your parents.
Please.
With your parents, when you had a hard day, you could turn to your spouse and say, wow, that was a really hard day, and they could hug you.
Right.
And you could fall asleep crying in their arms.
Right.
When it's your spouse, they're the person you normally would have turned to, and you can't turn to them for that comfort. Like you said, I was carrying it all.
Yeah. Were you scared
of what was going to happen to him?
What was going to happen
of
to
the end
to you? Like, were you ever like, this is horrible for him? No doubt. We had a front row seat to that. We even horrible.
Yeah.
But then you're like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
Like, what's your life gonna look like? How are you gonna move?
Previously, you know, I had nursed my mom through pancreatic cancer, so I knew what the end looked like.
Okay.
Only for her, you know, her mind was still sharp.
Yeah.
I could get resolution with her. My mom and I didn't have a good relationship growing up. She was very one way and I was another way, and she wanted me to be this way and I was not that way, and so it was right. She got sick. I didn't hesitate. I moved from Navarre down to Tampa to be with her, and Larry and Gabe held down the house up north, and I came down to be with my mom for 5 months until she passed. And we talked about everything. We hashed it all out. We got to resolve all of our issues and our conflicts, and I told her things about me that she had never known, and she told me things about her that I had never known. And when she passed, she knew that I loved her, and I knew that she loved me, and we had resolution. We had closure. And with Larry, we couldn't have those conversations. There is none of that resolution. There's only questions.
Yeah.
That's so well said.
So I wasn't afraid of what would happen to him at the end, but I was deeply grieving the fact that I would never have that resolution.
Yeah, they're still unleft.
What would you say to people who on this journey, I mean, your trajectory with Larry is much shorter, obviously because of the ALS, experience the same thing. It's so, like, it almost happens so fast that you're like, did that just happen? Even though the journey for my mom was 4 years,
you're just
I'm
getting
like,
adjusted to one change,
yes,
and then here comes another one, and then there's that loss, and
But you also, from the minute you really understand the diagnosis, you know this isn't going to end well, and your mind is going, there's going to be an end here.
Sure.
But you think you're prepared, or at least I thought I was prepared. Now, when Larry passed, on the other side of it, how did you feel in your grief? Were you surprised at how you felt? Did you feel like you had been prepared? Like, tell us a little bit about, like, your grief journey.
Sure. Well, like I said, I think I began grieving probably before he was diagnosed, because I was grieving our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I already felt like our relationship was ending, or changing, not for the better. So I was already grieving that part, and I grieved him solidly. You know, the loss of our physical relationship, the loss of our emotional relationship, the loss of his abilities. Your world shrinks. You know, I was determined to keep him at home, and we were able to keep him at home and keep him safe. And I made all the preparations. I put in the cameras, and, you know, I had him on good medications, and we were able to keep everything calm. And I left the Christmas tree up all year long. I didn't cut my hair. I didn't change anything in the house. Everything stayed the same, so that I could keep him as calm as possible and as safe as possible. And I just focused on making sure he knew every day how loved he was. You know, I knew I couldn't change what was going to happen. All I could do is make him know that he was loved. And so we did that. Both of us, Gabe and I, did that nonstop. We looked for the little moments of joy and the little fun things. And, you know, I'd put a little soft music on and do a little dance and get him laughing. Or, you know, he and Gabe would sit at the dinner table together and just, you know, just look at each other, not really have conversations, but just look at each other. And you could see that love passed back and forth between the two of them. I know there's a lot of people who feel regret after their journeys because they didn't hold up as well, or maybe I slipped up and yelled at him because I got frustrated, or, you know, I made a bad decision and X, Y, or Z happened. But I had such a good support system in that support group that I was very well prepared. And I think I had my head pretty well screwed on the right way. And having gone through a journey where someone passed before, I think I was able to manage all right. I think I did right by him. The grief after he passed, you know, I'm only in year 3, and the first year I was very numb and wanted to avoid a lot of the feelings and avoid looking back. I just wanted to focus on where I was and center myself and help Gabe center himself. Did not ask a lot of myself. Got rid of that damn Christmas tree. Oops, sorry. Got rid of that stupid Christmas tree.
Don't worry. That was a good one. Thanks for bringing some light.
That tree will never go up in my house again. I got rid of all of the medical devices. I never wanted to see them again. Like, I very quickly cleaned everything out and put our room, back to the way it needed to be. I needed our room back. And I remember, and this was the very night he died, like, I called the medical equipment people and said, if you can come today, come today. And they did.
Yeah, you want it out of there.
And I remember looking over at the end table at his picture, and I just looked at him and I just said, oh, there you are. You know?
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Maria and I lost our parents a month apart. So we thought we were very like lockstep in our grief journey and like, today is hard, so tomorrow will be hard for you. Like we just thought we were right. But it's so individualistic that year one, I'm like revived and happy. And year two, I'm like, I lost my dad. And it was opposite for Maria. So I know there's no right way to grieve. But when I'm listening to you and it's like you just did it methodically. Like, we're going to get rid of all this stuff. It's not going to be there anymore. We're going to try to get back to normalcy. And
it wasn't even that. I think it was more anger with the disease at that point.
I don't want to look at
like
this.
I hadn't shown any anger about the disease at that point. I was like, get this out.
You're probably holding it in for Larry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Get it gone.
Yeah. I don't want to look.
My dad did the same thing with the getting everything out of the house. And when you have ALS, there's the Hoyer lift. There's
so much stuff.
The Broda chair, like all the things. And literally it was like within an hour, he was like, I want this all out of my house. And
that's exactly was my response. Get it out.
Can we take like a 1 beat? And he was, no. I don't want to see.
Nope,
like,
it's gotta be gone. I don't want to see this.
It's like a constant
and looking
reminder.
at his picture and seeing him the way he was, that was Larry.
Yeah, that's what you want. Yeah,
that's what I wanted. And so that first year, like I said, it was very numb. Year two was hard. Christmas that year, Gabe and I got out of town. We were gone for 2 weeks together, and when I got back, it was like, that was great. And then the day after was like, holy crap, I'm back home and I'm still in my grief and he's still gone.
I need to live in vacation.
And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like for 6 months, just hard. Year three, that next Christmas was a little easier. We went to my sister's for Christmas. I still didn't put a tree up. But this year, I finally put a Christmas tree up and decorated it.
And how did it feel?
It felt, the day I put it up, it felt awful putting it up. The day after, I kind of had to recover.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then the day after that, I looked at it and it was like, gosh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. All those memories. And we really enjoyed it this Christmas. We enjoyed the tree. I still have to, it's not down yet. We have to put it down, but it will.
Full disclosure.
I've been traveling. In my defense, I'm not avoiding it. I've been traveling all January. So when I go home this coming weekend, I'm going to put that tree down.
We're going to check. Okay. We're going to email you.
If you had one or two nuggets of gold wisdom that you could pass on to another spouse who is going to lose their loved one or who just lost their loved one from ALS or FTD or both, what would your wisdom or your little gold nugget be?
It would be get connected with a support group, a good support group, not just any support group, right? Facebook groups out there that you look at these groups and the advice that they're giving and you're like, these people just want to vent. You don't need a bunch of people who just want to let you vent or just want to vent to you. You don't need someone increasing your issues. You need a group of people with practical solutions who are loving and caring and supportive, but also honest with you about what you're going to face, that you can ask, what am I going to have to deal with? How am I going to manage that? Whether it's incontinence issues or grief issues or, having someone to lean on since you can't lean on your spouse any longer is critical. And as you have mentioned earlier, many times it's not your family that you can lean on, those people that you think are going to be there for you or that even want to be there for you, just don't have it in them to do it. And so that support group was critical to us making it through in one piece.
Community is just so important. People who get it, people 100%. Who are going to be honest. Yep.
One thing we haven't asked the spouse crew is how has if maybe not how, has your relationship changed with your son?
That's an interesting question. I think there are many things that we don't have to say to one another. He's always been very, you know, I think he understands that I'm a safe person now. That even though I'm going to be honest with him, I'm not going to be unkind to him. That he can be honest with me about how he's feeling. He doesn't have to hide it. You know, too many times kids are afraid of showing their parents what they really feel because they're afraid they're going to get their parents upset. Gabe knows I can take it. If he's upset, you just tell me what you're thinking and we'll work it out. I have found him to be incredibly compassionate. He was very compassionate towards his dad, very protective towards his dad. I was never prouder of him than I'm going to get emotional when I talk about this. The night before Larry died, he woke up at midnight, and I went to go get Gabe and say, you know, your dad's going through a rough patch. This might be it. I think you want to be with him. Let's go be with him and let's go talk to him. And the things that he said to his dad were so amazing. I don't know where he learned that. He told his dad how much he loved him. He told him it was okay to rest. Held his hand, told him stories. I was never prouder of him than that moment.
So it sounds like you found a new respect.
I don't know where he got that.
Yeah, yeah, that's really
no
beautiful.
idea.
But that's really sweet.
Yes, I think it's. I mean, my kids are very, very little, but even my 7-year-old, you know, sometimes we don't give them enough credit for like.
I never give my kids enough credit. I know. Like, yeah, I know.
You know, that they
are just like little human beings that feel the same things we do.
Yes.
I know.
And they're processing it.
Probably like more normal than the adults that are just jaded by life.
Yes.
Like, I'm sure they're just like raw little beings that are like, this sucks.
Yeah. But he knew.
Yeah.
Son knew, like, I'm going to be gentle. I'm going to tell him, like, that's so, so beautiful. I think this is a good time to take a really quick break.
Okay.
And we'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey, quick pause here because we need to talk about something that often gets overlooked.
Oh, that single leftover sock.
No.
The spot in your kitchen that collects random things.
Mine is overloaded right now.
Well, you have little kids. I'm sure there's a random rock and a half-eaten granola bar. Ooh, a plastic dino, I'm sure.
Well, I'm talking about caregivers. Caregivers, although they usually feel invisible, are the real MVPs. And you know who celebrates them?
I surely do, but I think you're talking about the Remember Me Foundation.
Yes, the Remember Me Foundation is all about creating that space for you, support, community, and reminders that you matter too.
It's about remembering the person you love and remembering yourself along the way.
Check it out in the show notes. I promise that the little moments of support can make a big difference.
Because caring well starts with caring for you too.
So you're still engaged in the community, obviously. So are we.
Yeah. Both the FTD and the ALS community. Yeah,
what does that do for you?
So here's what being involved in the ALS community does for me. I know what those people are going through, but it's almost like I'm getting resolution with them that I didn't get with Larry. It's very therapeutic for me because we can talk about how they feel. We can talk about what they're going through. They can tell me what it's like to have a loss of, you know, the use of your limbs or your voice, or, you know, lose your job and no longer have a purpose. They can tell me what that feels like to them. And Larry could not tell me what that felt like. I've been volunteering with IMALS since spring of 23 and have put together this great thing called the Artistry of ALS, where we get artworks from people living with ALS and we pull them all together in a gallery. And I do interviews with those artists one-on-one interviews. Sometimes they have their voice, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's over, with pre-recorded responses. Sometimes it's just a written interview. But we talk about what them being able to produce art and share it with their friends and family means to them, and how it gives them purpose, and how it helps center them, and how it helps keep them from going crazy. But one artist in particular is the reason that I started this. I met her on social media. Her name is Brandy Trigona, and she was creating artwork with a head mouse and a bite switch. She could still move her head.
Wow.
And an iPad and the notes program. And she made these amazing artworks and would post at least one a day with this nifty little saying or poem or whatever. And I loved her work, and I just wanted to showcase her and her work. And I wanted people to see that and feel that and have a piece of that. And so I helped her write a book and put her artwork out there for the world to see. And that felt really good.
You're going to give us a link, right?
In all your spare time.
Yeah, sure.
No prob.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of hours between the time I'm done working and the time I have to go to bed.
Okay, because
when you're grieving, that's a lot of hours to fill.
That's okay. Very true.
And it has been a lifeline to me, right? If it hadn't been for those relationships and that work, I don't think I would be as far along in my grief journey as I am now.
Because you're really processing, you're facing it head on.
And, I am still grieving. Larry's brother came to me at Thanksgiving and he said, I'm about to say something that's probably really inappropriate. And I said, okay. And he said to me, I just want you to know that if you decided that you wanted to date somebody or marry somebody else, it would be okay with me. I wouldn't think any less of you. Yeah, I just want you to know you have my blessing. Not that you need my blessing, but I just want you to know.
Thanks.
Laughed and said, well, thank you
for
the permission. I will tell you there's no dating anytime soon. I'm not looking. Nobody else is in the picture. I'm not even, I don't ever want to be a nurse or a purse.
Yes, ma'am.
So just know that that's not on the horizon, but I really appreciate you coming to me and telling me this.
When the time is right, I'll let you know. Right. Okay.
When the time is right, I'll give you warning.
Sure.
There's another not so funny story. I have a very close friend who she checks in on me every morning, sends me a devotional, wants to make sure I'm okay, but she wants to really dig in and see how I'm doing. And she just kept asking, how are you? No, how are you really? No, really, how are you? And I finally just had to say, I need you to stop asking me that question, because the answer is I am not good. I am not okay. I am going to be living the rest of my life without my favorite person in the world. And I am not okay with that. And every day is a struggle. And you asking me, no, how are you? How are you really? Puts a lot of pressure on me. I feel like, you need me to tell you that I'm okay, and I'm not. I just need you to love me. I don't need you to fix me. I don't need you to ask me how I am. I just need you to love me. So can you just do that?
That's going on Instagram.
What'd she say? She said that to the friend.
She said she
No, I know, but she laid it out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I'm okay to make you be at ease.
Right.
Even though it's well-intentioned.
I know that you want me to be okay.
Yes.
I want me to be okay.
But how can you be okay if
honestly,
you're not
I'm
with
not
your favorite
okay.
person?
Like, this sucks.
Yeah. Right.
Yes. All of it. Yes.
That's kind of how the grief journey goes. And, you have friends, they want you to move on and they want you to progress and they want you to move forward. And it's like,
I'm not ready.
What does that look like, really?
Yeah.
What does moving forward look like?
Right. I can go out to dinner with you and not
cry. I live
cry.
in the house. Yeah.
Right.
I live in the house that we built. I'm surrounded by all of the things that we wanted to have. And now we have all of those things and he's gone.
Right.
What do those things mean now that he's gone? It's not that my life doesn't have meaning, and it does.
Sure.
It's
it
not
has
like I'm
so much
suicidal.
meaning and
I'm not.
fulfillment.
Right.
You're doing such incredible work for other people too.
But I would be willing to bet you'd give everything up to have him back. That's why I tell Maria, I love you and I'm so glad we met, but I'd much rather have Frank. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd like to have both of you if we could. That would be an ideal world, but
I wouldn't have.
Yeah, I wouldn't have the Remember Me
You, that-
podcast.
yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah.
have this.
I wouldn't have met you ladies. I wouldn't have met the people on my support
Right.
group.
You want to shift into talking about
Larry before.
Yes, let's shift into talking about Larry before. Can we start with you said you met as children?
We were children.
Tell us about
our
that.
parents were in the military. Our dads were both in the same squadron at Eglin Air Force Base in Northwest Florida. And we went to the same elementary school. He was 2 years older than me. We were not in the same grade, but we lived in the same, I don't know, it wasn't a cul-de-sac. Like they were townhouses built in a U shape, and he was in this townhouse. And so our parking lot, we shared a parking lot on the base. And our dads played cards. Our parents played cards together. They became friendly, and we were thrown together, and we just liked each other. And one day at school, Larry wrote me a note that said, "Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you. Will you be my girlfriend, yes or no?"
Circle one.
And what'd you say?
Checkbox. It was a box. And I read it. We were on the playground at school, and I just said, "Well, I have to think about it." I said, "Okay."
What does a girlfriend even mean?
I'll think about it.
Yeah, what is this
tucked a note in my pocket and just thought about it, and then went home. And back in the day, the phone was in the kitchen. We had one phone in the house. It was in the kitchen, and my mom was cooking dinner, and I dialed up Larry's phone, and his mom Jeannie picked up the phone. I said, "Is Larry there?" And she said, "Sure, I'll go get him." She was British. She's an amazing lady. I love her.
Wait, what grade is this? Like fifth?
I was in second grade.
Stop it.
And Larry was
in fourth.
In fourth grade. So I was 8 and he was 10.
You guys were babies.
And he picks up the phone and I say to him while my mom is cooking dinner, "Yes." And he says, "Yes, what?" And my mom's looking at me with side eye going, "What are they talking about?" And I said, "The note?" And he says, "Oh, cool. Well, I guess I'll see you in school tomorrow." I said, "Okay, cool." We both hung up. That was it.
And then what? Did you guys sit next to each other and eat lunch together?
We were in different classes, but we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and we would meet up on the playground, and our parents would still play cards together. And then being in the military, you move every couple of years. We moved to Germany, and then they moved to Germany, but to a different base. And so we would see each other every 6 to 9 months when our parents would say, "Hey, let's get together for the weekend." And Larry was not a tall man. One year I would be taller and he would be shorter, and the next year I would be taller, he would be taller, and I would. And so we did this.
So you guys must have you guys must have photos together when you're babies.
We do. I did not send you any of the Larry 10-year-old pictures.
We haven't gone through the Dropbox yet. Are they in the Dropbox?
Oh my gosh. If I didn't I think I put one in there.
I'll check. I will make sure.
So you guys have
100% adorbs.
They were my kids'
But
age.
we did not marry. I didn't marry him the first time because when we were adults, like in high school, he always had a girlfriend or I always had a boyfriend, and the timing was never right. And then he was living in Georgia and I was living down in Tampa, and we never saw each other, and he was catting around doing the stuff that he did, and I was, dating. And when I decided to marry, he came down to check the guy out. "Oh, I guess you know what you're doing." And that was it. So he was living his life and I was living.
This is The Notebook.
Yeah. So
what's the other? Ryan Gosling.
And then the other guy, James Marston.
Could be like that.
This is okay. And then
go on,
please. This is. I'm at the edge of my seat.
10 years later, my marriage is crumbling, and my sister Amy gets the two of us together at her birthday party, invites him down. She wants to make her husband jealous because he's being a jerk, and invites me over because she knows I need to get out of town because I've been, going through this divorce, having a hard time. And we see each other as adults, and it was like, oh, this is Larry. This is an adult Larry. And he's like, ooh, this is Ellen. That was in October. The next February, I got 2 dozen roses from him. I didn't hear from him that whole time, but then in February, I got 2 dozen roses. He knew it was going to be my first Valentine's without roses. He sent me flowers. And then we talked and talked and talked and talked every night until finally one day in June, he says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move to Texas and I'm going to court you. And I said, hold on a minute. I'm still trying to go through this divorce. You know, I've got small children. I don't need to date anybody. I've watched what my girlfriends, when they divorce and what their children went through, and I'm not going to put my kids through that. And he says, well, that sounds like a marriage proposal. And I said, wait a minute. That's not what I said.
Yeah. I thought I was saying the opposite, but okay.
Come on in. So
did he move? Did he move?
2 weeks later, he sold everything that he couldn't pack in his little Honda Civic and he moved to Texas. And he moved in with a friend and we saw each other on the sly until I knew it was real and it was really going to happen. And then eventually I introduced him to the kids and we got married. And, you know, we were married 19 years. We were married 20 years, but 19 years before this really hit us. And it was an amazing 19 years. He was the optimal spouse. He picked up after himself. He helped me around the house. He was a protector. I've always been a very anxious person, and he was very calm and cool and loosey-goosey, and he was the fun one. And so he would plan our adventures. And I think I told you earlier that we collected vintage Volkswagens.
Yes.
And when he knew there was one that I wanted to work on, he would buy it for me and surprise me with it and say, here you go. And we're talking junkers. Like, this is a car that you need to like strip down and fix and weld and all that stuff.
I would never know how to do that.
But that was our hobby that we did together. Wow. And we loved going on adventures together. We had a great time together.
This is a movie.
It is The Notebook.
The babies growing up together, seeing each other in Germany. Like,
it's like a Hallmark card or something. Like
and
a
then
Hallmark.
The marriage, and it's so fruitful. And then the disease. And
wait, but also, like, don't you want a man who's going to be like, I'm going to move to where you are, and I'm going to, like, wait until you're ready.
I hope Nick
and
Martinez
I'm going to find another one of those.
Yeah,
like, I'm never going to find another one of those.
Yeah.
They have some very big shoes to fill.
Yes.
So.
Okay. So that's how you guys met.
And it sounds like he was an incredible partner, and like you guys really enjoyed each other's company, like doing your projects together.
But you were like friends first. You like grew
simpatico.
Yeah, that's what
soulmates.
It was the whole package.
The universe was like, they are gonna, we are gonna keep sending.
We're going to Germany
to each other.
We're going to Germany. If you could describe it, how do you think Larry would want to be remembered?
I know he wants to be remembered as a Christ follower and a person who helped people and kind and fun, and handsome. He never passed a mirror that he couldn't look at. You know, he wants people to remember him as being handsome as well.
I love that.
It's so beautiful.
But yeah, he was a good son and a good husband and a great father, and that's how he would want to be remembered. For sure.
What do you have to read? The Notebook?
Is it the checkbox?
I have. No, it's not that. So this is just as good. When we got together, Larry presented me with a framed. He had gotten a pretty piece of paper and written out something for me, and framed it, and I have it to this day. And it says, Jesus said unto him, if thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. And it's Mark 9:23. And he said, I believe in you, my darling Ellen. You define what being a woman is. I love you with all that I am. And he signed his name.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode.
If you want to learn more about Remember Me, you can go to remembermeftd.com.
We also love getting new Instagram followers, and you can follow us at Remember Me Podcast.
We're also building a space just for you at the Remember Me Foundation. For more information or to donate, visit remembermefoundation.org.
This podcast is produced by Maria Kent Beers
and Rachel Martinez.
And the beautiful music you hear is a song called So Damn Lucky by Bailey Kent.